booktube. This is the video formerly titled Books That Sing to Me. I have a lot of lists. Anyone who tells you that organised people make lists, yes, also extremely disorganised people, me. I have a lot of lists for a lot of different reasons, research books and specific whips and by year and by genre, and then I forget about them. But this list is comprised of books wherein I heard about them and proceeded to just be filled with a feral longing, and so I'm going to talk about them today. I'm going to start by reading out the synopsis or the blurb, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about them. The first is Yellow Jessamine. Apologies if you've been here for a while, I know I've talked about it a lot. But here we go again. The synopsis for this one is: powerful shipping magnate Evelyn Perdinu lives a tight, contained life, holding herself at a distance from all who would get close to her. Her family is dead, her country is dying, and when something foul comes to the city of Delphinium, the brittle, perilous existence she's built for herself is strained to breaking. When one of her ships arrives in dock, she counts herself lucky that it made it through the military blockade, slowly strangling her city. But one by one, the crew fall ill with a mysterious sickness, an intense light in their eyes and obsessive behaviour, followed by a catatonic stupor. Even as Evelyn works to exonerate her company, bringing plague into her besieged capital city, more and more cases develop, and the afflicted all share one singular obsession: her. Panicked and paranoid, she retreats to her estate, which rests on a foundation of secrets: the deaths of her family, the poisons and cures that hasten the dissolution of the remaining upper classes, and a rebel soldier incapacitated and held hostage in a desperate bid for information. But the afflicted are closing in on her and bringing the attention of the law with them. Evelyn must unearth her connection to the spreading illness and fast, before it takes root inside her home and destroys all that she has built. There's not much that I can say about this that I haven't said before. Review link below, it's less than 5 minutes. But I will say this, I found it very mysterious and atmospheric, and as always, if you like a slow build up to a crescendo, I feel like it does that very well. The second book is The Wolf and the Woodsman by Reid. The synopsis is as follows. Inspired by Hungarian history and Jewish mythology, a story of magic and faith, storytelling and tradition, belonging and violence, in which a pagan woman is betrayed by her village and thrust into a hostile world where a vengeful cleric seeking religious purity has risen to power. It's not much of a synopsis, I don't feel, but I actually found this one through Twitter, and on Twitter it said, this contains eating weird things and body horror, enemies to lovers, religious angst, rich mythology, one sexually frustrated man in a complicated relationship with God. And therein lies the appeal. I feel like that sells it much better than the synopsis, but that's just me. I'd also like to clarify the title, The Wolf and the Woodsman, kind of gives me Little Red Riding Hood vibes, but the synopsis and the bullet points don't. I don't actually know if there is any tie to that. I do very much like Little Red Riding Hood retellings. I feel like there's a really good structure there to like enhance, but whether or not it is or not, I still really love the sound of it. The third book is The Faerie, Hounds of York by Arden Powell, and the synopsis is as follows. England 1810. The north is governed by a single rule: Faerie will take as it pleases. William Locksley is cursed. A pale, monstrous creature haunts his dreams, luring him from London to the desolate grey landscape of his forgotten childhood. There it will use him to open a door to Faerie, a fate that will trap Locksley in that glittering heathen otherworld forever. His only hope of escaping the creature's grasp lies with John Thorncrest, a dark and windswept stranger met on the moors. The longer Locksley stays in Thorncrest's company, the harder it becomes to fight his attraction to the man. Such attraction can only end in heartbreak or the noose. But Thorncrest has his own bleak ties to Faerie. They come creeping in with the frost, their howls carrying on the winter wind. If Thorncrest's past catches up with him before they can break the curse, then Locksley will not only lose his soul, he'll lose Thorncrest too. So I think a theme is starting to become a little bit clear, a little bit dark, a little bit gothic, a little bit queer. Also, just this one is so exciting just on an aesthetic level. I mean, the moors, how can you not love it? Also, though, I love like this idea of being haunted and hunted down, and I feel a little bit like fairies in this sense are kind of going a little bit by way of Tolkien's elves, and I don't mind that, but I do really appreciate a bit more of a menacing tilt. And just like that, the theme kind of breaks with the fourth book, Dictée by Theresa Kyung. Dictée is the best known work of the versatile and important Korean American artist Theresa Kyung, a classic work of autobiography that transcends the self. Dictée is the story of several women: the Korean revolutionary Yu Sun, Joan d'Arc, Demeter and Persephone, Cha's mother Hyung Sun-hwa, a Korean born in Manchuria to first generation Korean exiles, and Cha herself. The elements that unite these women are suffering and the transcendence of suffering. The book is divided into 9 parts structured around the Greek muses. Cha deploys a variety of text, documents, images and forms of address and inquiry to explore issues of dislocation and the fragmentation of memory. The result is a work of power, complexity and enduring beauty. I don't really read a lot of biographies or autobiographies. If I am interested in someone, I tend to just Google them. An entire book doesn't really appeal to me. A documentary perhaps, but not a book. But this appealed to me the moment I heard of it, because just the seemingly disparate nature of all these different women and the structure based on the 9 muses, it just kind of stuns me and intrigues me at the same time. If you've followed my blog at all, you might have seen like the review I wrote for Jonah's Descendant of the Crane, where I talked about Hadestown, and my review of Alatsui by Darcy Littlebadger, wherein I talked about Liam Neeson's Taken and Mad Max Fury Road and The Avenging Feminine from Innuendo Studios video essays. I don't know how my brain does that, but it really intrigues me how, all these different things can just come together, and so I'm really interested in seeing this done by someone else, that I don't really see people talking about things through other things, and I really want to know how this is going to go. The next book that I found was Reader, I Murdered Him by Betsy Cornwall, and the synopsis is thus: a tale of female agency, queer romance and revenge in which a girl becomes a teenage vigilante who roams Victorian England using her privilege and power to protect other young women from abusive Gothic heroes. Yes, if you have been waiting for it, yes, this is where I talk about romancing the Gothic. Again, apologies to the people who have been putting up with this. But that really has been like the shining best thing that has happened to me all year, and probably even like in half a decade. School was not good, but I have really enjoyed like this kind of ability to connect with academia. I wanted to be that kid, that really annoying kid who goes to university like for the rest of her life, just spends her entire life studying, and then it just went so wrong. But Romancing the Gothic is amazing. It's a series of free lectures, although, you know, they have a Patreon and a Ko-fi, and you get to hear, like, so many talks in the Gothic. We talked about, like, the financial Gothic, and with The Haunting of Hill House, and that was amazing. We've talked about, like, Frankenstein and its ties to Paradise Lost, and like we've talked about chapbooks as well. Like, it's such a large, encompassing group. You know, we've done Gothic and bodies with ballet, with talked about ossuaries, and I'm really, like, in the headspace of, I really want to see and engagements with the Gothic. 6 is Birds of Paradise by Oliver K. Langmead, and the synopsis is: American Gods meets the Chronicles of Narnia in this adult fantasy about the biblical Adam discovering the last pieces of the Garden of Eden. Many millennia after the fall of Eden, Adam, the first man in creation, still walks the earth. Exhausted by the endless death and destruction, he is a shadow of his former hope and glory, and he is not the only one. The garden was deconstructed, its pieces scattered across the world, and its inhabitants condemned to live out immortal lives, hiding in plain sight from generations of mankind. But now pieces of the garden are turning up on the earth. After centuries of loneliness, Adam, haunted by the golden time at the beginning of creation, is determined to save the pieces of his long-lost home. With the help of Eden's undying exiles, he must stop Eden becoming the plaything of mankind. Adam journeys across America and the British Isles with magpie, owl and other animals gathering the scattered pieces of paradise. As the country floods once more, Adam must risk it all to rescue his friends and his home, because rebuilding the garden might be the key to rebuilding his life. So what I heard of this was biblical Adam finds pieces of Eden, and that was what sold me. This I just looked up for this video. I didn't really need to know more. This is also probably one I have the most reservations with, because I looked it up on Goodreads. Like I said with, like, Romancing the Gothic, we do also talk about Catholicism and the representation of, like, religion in that, and how that affects how ghosts were considered to be, and I have been convinced that, you know, vampires, like the bloodsuckers, like Carmilla and Dracula, are, like, products descended from Christian myth, and I've been convinced of that ever since. I can't remember the specific video. So this also really interests me. Religion has kind of always interested me, and again, engagement with it interests me. I am a little confused about why we're stuck on America and the British Isles. Like, why are these pieces avoiding the rest of the world? And also, you're going to write about the biblical Adam and we don't hear anything about Eve, but just, like, as a premise, that is amazing. So these last two are fairly recent additions, even for, like, a fairly recent, this list was started this year, but these ones are particularly recent, and I apologise in advance because this one, In the Watchful City by S. Qiouyi includes neopronouns, and I have tried to look up how to pronounce neopronouns, and usually what comes up is like a 101 primer on what neopronouns are, so if I mispronounce them, I'm sorry. Feel free to correct me or yell at me in the comments about it. But yeah, apologies in advance for that. The synopsis to In the Watchful City by Qiouyi is: cut off from the rest of the world by choice, the city of Aura relies on heavy surveillance of its people and surroundings to maintain order. Anima is one of the extrasensory humans tasked with running the city. Even if it means never leaving the hub, Anima is content with our job as it offers our direct connection to the Gleaming, a powerful network that spans the globe and connects to all things. Then a mysterious figure named Vessel manages to enter Aura without going through one of the border gates. Say offers Anima the chance to look at Sir a cabinet of curiosities from around the world in exchange for a memento of her own. Instead of turning Sarah into the authorities, Anima, who has never seen the world outside Aura, accepts Vessel's offer. But as he learns the story behind each item, Anima realises that the rest of the world isn't like Aura, and begins to doubt her role in enforcing the city's rules. As events collide, Anima is left with one question that destabilises everything he knows. What good is a city if it can't protect its people? So I feel like this one might be a little bit harder to talk about, because yes, this is an amazing premise and I am really intrigued about Anima and her realisation and what is going to happen today. And yeah, I have also seen like an excerpt or two because I follow this author on Twitter, and yes, so I actually am really interested in this author's work, this author's body of work, more than just this one, and I just haven't gotten to it because I am a fool. Also because I think it's on Gumroad, and I have tried to order things off of Gumroad before. It doesn't let me. I don't know, I've always had trouble with Gumroad. I've never been able to make a purchase. So this being a novella coming through Tor, I was always excited about it, but more so now that I'm kind of not sure how I can access the rest of the book version of Filmography. So like I said, I followed this, I followed your Twitter, and I am just really interested in what he writes, and I think just like in terms of interests and what he talk about, it just sounds like the work will be very interesting. I have listened to about 2 hours of Junior today because I've had to write all of this out because I film on my phone, and that means I haven't gotten this last one written down, but I'm going to try and explain it the best that I can. It is called Yingelishi. It is by Jonathan Starling. It is poetry, and it is both multilingual and no language, and that just so appeals to the language enthusiast in me. So I think the example that I saw was, it starts with the Chinese characters Zhao Shanghao, which is good morning. It is followed by English, good morning, followed then by Pinyin, good morning, and then the characters for that, and it translates the characters into like an actual piece of poetry. I don't remember what that is, so the good morning, the English translation of that, is listed next to it at the bottom, and so it is interacting between and with languages, and with kind of nonsense as well, and that just fascinates me. Like I keep saying that I'm not literate in Chinese, in Mandarin, and I want to be, and that just like that is the kind of thing that I love about languages, and I would just love to be able to like engage with it on a level that I can't right now, but that's still like this kind of poetry gives me the kind of engagement that I want, even though I can't really engage right now, and so I adore this. So these are the stories that make me feel a little bit feral with excitement and anticipation. I absolutely adore the sound of them, and I wanted to talk to them, of course, because this is something that I'm excited about and I feel positive about, and I want to just be excited and positive right now. And also because December, it seems, is this big pivot month, as you may have noticed by my starting the month trying to film in French. I know I am terrible, and I apologise for my accent. I remember very distinctly my French tutor telling me I sounded like an American. I don't know what that means. I don't think it's a compliment, but yes, so the things that these books engage in, I feel like are going to be a really kind of good tell for where I'm taking this channel next year, and I'm really excited about where I'm taking this channel next year. I really want to engage more with the Gothic, more with classics, more with language. I want to read more queer books because apparently I've been not doing that. I want to be more conscious of the books that I'm reading. I also want, with like Dictée, to engage with books that aren't usually my thing, like Deja Dead notwithstanding. And yeah, so I just kind of thought that this would be good both as a things that you want to talk about kind of way, and things that are coming up kind of way. Anyway, thank you for watching.